Howdy do. Welcome to the Design Lab. I'm Adam. I look at art and comics. I got a fun comic for you today. This is a comic I've long wanted to read. Squeak the Mouse. And I think it's probably best known as probably, an inspiration on Matt Groening's The Simpsons, the show within the show, what's it called? Itchy and Scratchy. I haven't watched The Simpsons in probably decades. So, yeah, but yeah, it's a really, I didn't know what it was. And I thought it was kind of going to be in Italian, and that was not necessarily the case. There's some text. Oh, so anyways, it was a trilogy. I couldn't find the copyright dates in here on when these were actually originally released. I want to say the first one was maybe the 80s, maybe 90s. I don't know. Let's see. MCMLXX. What is that? 1982. And then I think then the other one was, I don't know. And then more recently, just in the last few years, I think the third part. So there's three sections, each about 50 pages, and I really didn't know if it was going to be just itchy and scratchy or what. And so let's take a look. So um, it begins very Tom and Jerry like, which is probably the basis for all these cat and rat. But then it quickly starts to get more violent, and I started to notice right away there's no dialogue and so there are sound effects and words occasionally, but for the most part there's no language. So it doesn't really matter what language edition you get this in. I think there is an English edition. I think that's what this is. But the guy is Massimo Mattioli, and he has some other. Oh, the reason that I kind of stumbled upon this now is that there's another one of his books coming out, I believe in January 2025, called Joe Galaxy, and I have not read those yet. And I thought, well, let's start reading this guy. So I found some Joe Galaxy, but I haven't read that yet because it doesn't seem like it's collecting all the stories that are going to be in that volume. So anyways, I read this first because this is complete. And as far as I know, this is all. Oh yeah. So, anyways, there's cat and mouse adventures, but then it quickly gets more violent, and he kills the rat, and that's the end. And it happens pretty fast. But also right away, I kind of noticed that not only is it more violent, but it's much more sexual. So at this point, it starts to turn into. If you read Robert Crumb's Fritz the Cat, this reminded me so much of that. Like it like transitioned almost from Tom and Jerry. It's almost like the evolution of this cat and animal adventure stuff. So yeah, like he starts to use like characters. I mean, this is clearly like Felix the cat right here, this guy. And but yeah, they start getting more sexual and much more adult oriented than Tom and Jerry, and much more violent. And I was enjoying it though. I like the pacing. Every panel is a very clear. It was a very clear action, very enjoyable. So, not for everybody, like a lot of the comics that I look at, but it was very, very interesting. And yeah, so this is kind of interesting. So, like, he's at home and he turns on the TV, and then we just get this one image of. Let me show the cat again. So I love little things like that. Very, very twisted sense of humor. Very unusual. I hadn't read somebody quite like this before. I mean, it reminds me of certain different artists and stuff. But from 1982, I can think of very few artists and writers doing this kind of stuff. Like I said, Robert Crumb's probably the closest, and he was doing that stuff kind of like 10, 15 years earlier. So this was very surreal stuff. So yeah, we get a lot of cuts occasionally to images like this. And yeah, I laughed and I enjoyed the state of mind. Yeah, so very adult-oriented stuff. Like I said, not for everyone. I'm going to go through it kind of fast because I don't know what YouTube's going to allow. As far as I know, YouTube won't censor me. Oh, so is that the end? Yeah, I think that's the end of volume 1. And then volume 2, let's see if I can figure out what year volume 2 takes place. Oh, this is volume 2. Okay, so what year is this? Do we get a copyright? I don't see a copyright. Okay, so I have to say though, from seeing this trilogy as a whole, it reminds me, the shape of it, strangely enough, of the original Star Wars trilogy, in that I felt like the first one is very like kind of raw energy, but has a lot of like rough edges and things that could be better. And then the second one I feel like was the best. It was like just the right level of experimentation, being in this new space, and kind of solidifying the elements that didn't work in the first volume and making them much better and cleaner. And then in the third one, I feel like, which is also much later, I think it was just done a few years ago and before he died. I feel like that one is sort of the Return of the Jedi, in that it's like, nothing really too new. It's just like it has a nice finish to it, but it's not nearly as good as the second one. That was my overall impression of it. But, it's still worth seeing all three of them. Oh, wait, so we have a copyright? We don't have a copyright. I don't know what year this is. So look on Wikipedia if you want to know what year it is. Yeah, so the second one, definitely my favorite. And everyone who dies comes back from the dead. A lot of zombieism. Sort of a travel log. Very standard page size. Pretty much 12, what is it, 3 times 4? Yeah, 12 panels a page. And, but it fits it's just like one simple action in each panel. And it moves it along. You can read it so fast. I like it when he goes underwater. There's this octopus who's making coffee under the ocean. Funny stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of pornographic stuff. So if you're not into that, not your book. I think you can just like look at a few random panels, and you probably know by now if this is your book or not. If you've made it this far in the video and you're not into this book, I don't know why you're watching it. I was looking at the toys on the shelf. Is this Darkman? Was another movie Darkman? And it's Child's Play. I don't know why it says Good Guys. And I don't know what this like swamp creature is. Yeah, so wonderful energy, these comics. And then, yeah, we get into the third volume. Yeah, every now and then we get like a little, these are apparently the thumbnails that he did to kind of rough out the story. These are almost readable. These are almost readable in themselves. I feel like he did these like super, it seemed like he works fast in general, but this looks like super fast. All right, so here's the third volume. And I feel like this came out in 2019. And I guess why this one didn't work as well for me was that it just didn't. They go into new places, they go into outer space and stuff, but it just felt like we weren't seeing anything new. Sometimes we were, like the cat loses his skin, and then he finds a new pair of, and he gets like another. Where does he get his outfit from? I guess he finds it on the road, and he puts it back on like a suit. But overall, though, I just didn't feel like it was going anywhere. It just felt like it's hard to say why sometimes things don't work. Maybe it's just because it was like so many years had passed since the first ones that, when an author does that, they go back to a work, they try and capture that energy, and it's just not there because their brain has been able to process the story for so long that they have to kind of look back on it as something, if it's something great, then they see it as like this sort of thing that they have to force themselves to create something new rather than just like naturally go there by maintaining that energy. There are some nice points in this. The art's beautiful. I feel like the art is just as good in the third one. There's more just the story. So yeah, this was, I've made, since I've started this design lab format on my channel looking at comics, I've made some wonderful discoveries. Eric Haven, for example, I love his comics. I'll look at more of those. And I feel like this comic, this guy, it's been one of them. He's it's not perfect, and it's not, it's not uniform in that like the energy changes across the volumes, but he's a very creative guy and a very if he was an influence on Itchy and Scratchy, I could totally see that because he does take things that have been around, Tom and Jerry, Fritz the Cat, and take them to it at a new level and a totally different direction that I wasn't expecting. So this next volume, Joe Galaxy, that is coming out in English from Fantagraphics in January, I believe. I will look at it if I can, and we'll see how that holds up. Although I'd like to read it in the original Italian because I think I have. Let me see. Where is it? Joe Galaxy. There it is. Okay, so I have this copy, but it's only 107 pages, and according to Wikipedia, there's 3 volumes of this as well. This Joe Galaxy. So I don't think this is complete, and I kind of want to read them all, but I'd rather read them in the original if I could. Is this the original or is this French? What do you want? No. Oh, this is French. So I don't know what. I need to find out what language he was really originally working in. Because this may be a translation too. Anyways, more to explore, but just look at these. Let's just take a peek inside Joe Galaxy. So you can see there's obviously a lot more text. I mean, there is dialogue and text. I mean, some of this is a bit too much text for my taste, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to this. It looks like it almost has like a Mobius feel to it. So we'll see what Joe Galaxy is all about. Coming soon to my channel near you. See you there.